Hi and welcome back to session 4 of the Build Your Custom Website course. My name's Dan and I'm a software engineer and systems analyst with WP Updo. Today's session we will be looking at building out a secondary page on your website, setting up a navigation menu and tinkering with the footer. You'll need to bring the story that we discussed in the previous video, the about, and a bit of patience, because this will be the first time we're building a new page from scratch and it might take a minute. So what is a secondary page? The secondary pages are about the business itself, any services you offer, or you as the consultant or the business owner. You can also put key staff profiles in, detailed information on services or products, pricing guides, and of course, all of your legal pages, which we'll go through in the next session. There's also some SEO considerations when creating internal or secondary pages from your site. You want any content or any site pages to be a minimum of 200 words, although more than 300 is better. It needs to be easy to read. Only uses jargon when absolutely necessary or appropriate. We want to be able to interlink pages, which we'll go through in the next session. And we also want to avoid keyword loading. And that is where you try and shove too many keyword phrases into a single paragraph, which Google doesn't like. It can also make things really hard to read. So let's get started. Okay, so from the homepage that we created last week, go right up to the very top into the URL and then type /wp-login.php. May already be pre-filled in for you. Now I've zoomed in a little bit so it's easier to see. Yours might be a little bit smaller than this one. Click into the username or email address and then add the email address we signed up with in the first main session. Okay, so to keep a consistent look across the entire site, what we're going to do is duplicate the home page and then bend that a little bit rather than creating an entirely new page from scratch. That needs an extra plugin. What I'd like you to do is head to plugins on the left-hand side and then add new. On the right-hand side in the keyword search, type in duplicate post and hit enter. That will just take a few moments. And what we're after is the duplicate page plugin. So over to the right and click install now. That'll just take a few moments to install. Click activate. And congratulations, you've just installed your first WordPress plugin. Just dismiss all of these. Don't need them for the moment. Okay, and then over to pages on the left-hand side, and then all pages. All right, so once you've landed on the list of pages, mouse over the home page for your site. Don't click. And then click duplicate this. That'll create a new page and then automatically pop that into drafts for you. Click on the quick edit. Make sure you're clicking on the one that's in draft. And type into the title field about and then the name of the site. And then in the slug, type about, which is the industry standard. Click update on the right-hand side, and that will rename the page and make it easier for us to identify. Next, mouse over again and click the Edit with Elementor button. So once that's loaded, you'll notice this looks an awful lot like our homepage. So what we're going to do is delete a few of the elements we don't need and restart a bit fresh. So we're going to start by mousing over the elements on your masthead and looking for things that we really don't need. So we don't need this, in our case, the blank spacer there, so we can delete that. So I'm just right clicking and delete. The image we don't need, so right click and delete. And the tagline we'll keep for something in a few moments. Next thing we want to do is go over to the left-hand side here, and if you're not on the main block, just click this little grid up the top right of the Elementor system, and then in the search there, type text. And we want a heading. So click on the heading and drag it into the masthead. And in the title, type in the name of the site. Sorry, we want to type in about and the name of the site. It is there, it's just really hard to see at the moment, so we'll change that color. And we can do that by going to Style, Text Color, and I've got a little color picker here, which you can install as a an extension in your browser. Click on that color if you need to. Text color, and then paste the color in. There we go, and we can see the text. Back to content. We want to make that a heading 1 or a H1 tag. Center it, and we're going to make it really big. Now, I'm not a fan of this font, so I'm just going to change that as well to Una, which is the rest of the same as the rest of the fonts. Now, if you have a tagline here, that's great. You can just copy and paste it straight in. If not, we'll just delete it for this exercise so you can see what I'm doing and delete that spacer. All right, so the next thing we want to put in our top line here is our tagline. So again, over to the left-hand side and the little grid, we want to find text, so text editor, or you can just type it in there, drag that over to underneath the masthead header. Now, for your homework, you should have created a your story or an about script. So I've just done that here using Word. It can be done in Google Documents or any other text editor you like. What we're going to do is paste our first tagline into here. So I'm just copying here off screen and then click inside the text box, and that'll reveal the text editor. So on the left-hand side here, we want to make sure that the toolbar toggle is checked, and we want to make sure the paste as text is checked as well. And what that does is that will strip out any meta information or formatting from the Word document or your Google document, or if you're copying from another web page as well, which means that the text will go in as we intended, rather than having extra stuff around it that can wreak havoc with the rest of your formatting. So make sure these two are checked. I've copied from another document. Delete the default text there and then paste that in. Right, so that tagline is in. I'm just going to make that a little bit bolder, which hasn't done too much, but it's there. And then I'd like to center this one. You don't have to, but I'd like to. So I'm going to go to Style and then set the alignment to center. Okay, so that's our masthead underway. Next thing we're going to do is delete some of the sections we no longer need. So we don't need that. You can just mouse over and hit that X if you don't need it. Don't need that one. Definitely don't need that one. We don't need that. Right. So the next thing we're going to do is start moving in the block text here. So I'm going to start using an existing element. If you've accidentally deleted too many elements, I'll get to how to add a new one in a few moments. So let's add a column. So I'm going to put a block of text here and an image here. So over to the left-hand side again, hit the grid and find the inner section block. Mouse over, and we want to pop that around about there-ish. All right, so that's created 2 columns. In the left-hand column, I'm going to put some text, grab that, drag it over. And in the right-hand column, I'm going to put an image. Now, I like to construct the insides of the columns first. It just makes it a bit easier to visualize the layout. But next thing I'm going to do is copy over the first paragraph of my about. So copy that, click inside the text block, make sure that the paste as text is on, delete the content, and then paste that. Fantastic. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is grab an image that we had before. So click on the image and then over to the left-hand side. I'm going to carry through an image from the home page that we played with before. So let's grab that one and then hit Insert Media. And we'll leave that as large, and what will happen is the website will automatically scale the image based on the browser. So it'll scale for mobile, it'll scale for tablet, and scale for desktop. Okay, so that's the first one done, and I think we can probably squeeze a little bit more information in here. So I'm going to get the next 2 paragraphs from my About document, slide into there, all the way to the end, enter, and then paste those in too. Okay, so that's a nice balance block. The next thing I'd like to do is add a quote from me. So I'm going to leave this blank as a spacer, and then we will add a new, delete that, and we'll add a new section. So down the bottom here, we've got there should be grey, or it might be a little bit lighter grey depending on your color scheme. Click the red button that says Add New Section. And in this case, I'm going to go with a full width section. Okay, so that's done. And we're going to pop in a quote. So over to the left, and then type quote. So block quote in this, testimonial in this case. Drag that over and pop that in the middle. And that's going to go through a quick testimonial on what we're saying, and I'm going to use that block as a little quote for me. So copying again from my Word document over to the content side now, because this one isn't the text editor, it is in fact clear text, and you can tell because it's using a different type of font and it doesn't have a toolbar. We can just delete and paste straight on in. I want to choose an image. So I've uploaded an image of myself. It is a bit older from when I had a bit more hair and a little less beard, but it is there. Insert that one and then pop my name. So I've got one last block I'd like to put in with a bit of information about our location. So to do that, I'm adding a new section again. So click the purple button, and I'd like to keep it a similar kind of layout to the top here. So of all the columns we have, this one is probably the closest. So that's the 3-column layout with one big one in the middle. Click on that and you can see it's created the columns. Go to the text editor and then text, and drag that into the center column there. Copy the information over from the Word document. And once we're inside the text editor there, we also, because we're coming over and there is a toolbar, need to make sure that paste as text is selected. Delete the default text, paste in the new text, and I'm going to make that centered. And that's all set. Now that is a little bit compressed. It does look a bit samey, so I'm going to add an extra spacer in there as well. So the grid, type in spacer, and then we want to drag that in just above the text. Quite happy with that. Let's make it a bit more of a gap. So let's space that out. Excellent. So that's done. Now, if I decide that I don't like the order, if I perhaps want my quote a little bit lower than the top one, rather than having to delete and try again, you can simply grab the blue bar and move that up, and that will work. And within here as well, we can do the same thing. So if you click on the little blue toggle there, we can move that up, and that will put the spacer down the bottom. As you saw as well, we can also move these out. So if we decide that this, in fact, should be right up the very top, you can just drag that wherever you want it to be. Just going to slip that back in there, pop that back in the correct order. Worth noting that you should not hit the X, because that will delete it. And that is our About page sorted. All right, left-hand side down the bottom, you'll see the green button, and then click Save Draft if you're not ready to publish and you want to continue working on it, or click on Publish if you're very, very happy with that, and that will make that page live on the website. You'll get a little notice, so we can click off that one, and that's your homepage dealt with. So the next thing we're going to do is have a tinker with the navigation menu up the very top. So we'll start by going to the left-hand hamburger menu, click on that, and then we want to exit to dashboard. And that's going to take us to some of the behind-the-scenes stuff for the page, which we don't need to worry about right now. So over to the left-hand side, click the W, and that will take you back to something a bit more familiar. So we can now see we have an About page and we have the home page. So next thing to do is go to the menu system. So we want to go over to Appearance and then Menus. And we should be presented with a whole bunch of menus here. So what we're going to do is delete what we have and start again. So we've got the menu structure here just down the bottom there. We want to delete and then hit OK. And then scroll down again and keep doing this until you get a more or less blank screen. There we go. So it says create your first menu, and we no longer have any menus there. So let's start by creating the main menu. So type in the name. Doesn't matter what it is. It's just a label for us. It's not seen by the public. And then click create menu. Excellent. So now we have that in place, we can go over to the pages on the left-hand side. And if you can't see pages, go up the screen options and make sure that pages is clicked in the boxes there, and then close screen options. We have pages at the top, click view all, and then check the wine shop home and the about. Then click add to menu. Once that's done, we can change this to whatever you like. So you can click the little triangle, and that will just let you edit the label. So I want to change that to home. So that is the first part done. So hit save. And we want to scroll down to display location and make sure that's set to main. The next thing we want to do is add a second menu. We'll call that, so up the top here, there'll be a create new menu option. Click on that one. We want to call that quick links. And then create. And we're going to put the same links into this as well. So wine shop and about. Change that to home. All right. Don't worry about the menu settings for this one down the bottom there either. Just hit save. Okay, that's done. So now if we navigate out to our website, so go up to the very, very top left, over the little home with your website name, and then visit site. And we now have the two links to our homepage and to our about page. So we can navigate there, or if we click on the about, that takes us to our about page, which we just created, and we can go back to the home. Okay, next up, we're going to take care of that footer. So back into the dashboard. So mouse over the name of the site and then click dashboard. That'll drop us back into the dashboard there. And now we want to head over to appearance and customize. That can take just a few moments to load. All right, so this is how we tweak and customize the theme. And let's start with the widgets, I think, down the bottom. Or in fact, we should be able to just scroll down, and there we go. So if you have a logo here, we can click on that little blue button to change the logo. So click on the image to edit it, or edit image, and then cancel. We want to replace the image, not edit it. Throw your logo in. Right, that's done. The next thing is to edit any text if you have an about here. So this will look quite familiar. Just going to open that Word document from before. Won't take long to load. So just copied that over, and because this is still a toolbar with the tools on there, but it doesn't have that extra little option to strip the formatting from the text, we're going to just do a little intermediary step. So if you're on Windows, just click on the search bar there, and we want to open Notepad. You can do this with any text editor as well. I'm not sure about the ones on the Mac, but I think, yeah, any text editor will do the trick. So we're going to paste in what I've just copied over from the Word document here. And then I'm going to select all and copy, so Control-C, that information, and then pop that in here. So delete that and then paste. And that does what the paste as text does, where in the about pages with the other one as well. So by swapping over to Notepad, it strips out any of the additional formatting that might be carried across from a website, from Word, or from Google Documents. So once you've got that in, you can just discard your Notepad block there. And I'm going to format the geeks again, so Control-I. And that has changed the text block here as well. If you don't have a text block there, that's fine. You don't need to do this. It's just a nice little SEO thing if you've got it as a bonus. Okay, so that's the logo, and that is the text blocks done. So the next thing we're going to do is save that, so publish. And then we will add another area. Okay, so that is the one on the left taking care of the one on the right. Now, some themes have 3 widgets, some have 2, some have 4. This one has 3. We've already pinged the one on the left. We've got the one on the right, which we'll deal with a bit later. And then the one in the middle is the one I'm going to adjust next. So click on that footer widget, and we're going to add a new widget. And what I'd like to pop here is the 2 menus that we started with. So that's the quick links and the legal menu. So click Add, and then we want a navigation. Click on Navigation menu. We're going to call that one Quick Links, and then select the Quick Links menu that we created before. There we go, and that's done. Now, once we've got our legal pages in, which we'll cover in the next class, we'll be able to pop the legal links in here as well. Publish, and that is saved. Now, if you've got a gallery like I have on the right-hand side, you can also click on the little blue edit button there. That will bring up the gallery that we can play with. I haven't got any current images. I haven't got any images ready to go on that one, so we'll deal with that off camera. Okay, so that is the footer dealt with. That's quick links added and the footer description sorted. So swapping back to our main site here, once that's all done and you're happy, we can hit the little X on the top left-hand side there and mouse over the website name, the little home thing, and then hit Visit Site. And that will let us see our changes. And we can see there now we have the quick links. We still have the gallery there, and we also have the new text on the left-hand side. We'll deal with this stuff later on. And that brings us to the end of the action for this session. So, what did we cover today? Well, we built our About page using a copy of our home page as a template. We set up the main navigation menu, and we set up the footer. So that's not bad for a short session. In the next session, we'll be looking at compliance, which, if I'm honest, is going to be a bit of a slog, but it's absolutely required to make sure that your site gets indexed and you don't get into strife. For the next session, you'll need your legal trading name and your address, which we will need to publish on the site. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next session.